For the City of Joliet, today is Monday, October 16th. Mayor Terry Darcy presiding. Let's begin.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Darcy.
Here.
Councilman Cardenas.
Here.
Councilman Clement.
Here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilwoman Navarro.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
First on the agenda this evening is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, we'll ask the city manager to review tomorrow night's agenda items.
Great, thank you, Pauline. So tomorrow night's agenda, as usual, we're going to start with our pledge and prayer, and then we have 4 proclamations that will be read tomorrow night. Council committee reports of diversity and community relations, finance, land use and legislative, and the public service committee report as well. On our consent agenda, we'll have the council minutes from our pre-council meeting October 2nd and council meeting October 3rd. Our invoices to be paid, and then you're requested to approve 2024's council meeting schedule. The next item on the consent agenda is Council Memo 525-23. This is award of a contract to Data Transfer Solutions. This is for our ViewWorks asset management software. This is for software support and their hosting licensing services and $70,000. This is the work order and asset management system software that they use in public works, public utilities, and is starting to be rolled out into other departments, and what ties back to your Citizen View app if you use that to make any postings. Any questions on that item? Next consent agenda item is 526-23. This is a professional services agreement for the downtown levy. This is with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The consultant in this matter is Santa Cruz Land Acquisitions. The amount that you're being asked to approve is $52,252. As you're all aware, we entered into an agreement in 2020 with the Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of the Army, to do the feasibility study for the downtown levy that would remove the downtown area from the floodplain. This is one of the contracts to advance that. Santa Cruz will be providing land acquisition and negotiation services for 5 parcels that we need to either acquire a part of or acquire an easement on. Any questions on that?
Mayor, this is actually regarding the previous item. It's just not specifically about the contract, but just wondering generally if we have any stats or progress on how many people have been using the Citizen View app, if we have any metrics on that regarding how successful it's been. I know I've been trying to encourage more people to use it myself, but that way we can get a sense of how effective it's been.
I can follow up and get that information for you. We are able to track that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next item is Council Memo 527-23, Professional Services Agreement. Again, this is related to the downtown levy work. This is with HBK Engineering in an amount of $84,312. The services HBK will be providing relate to those same 5 parcels that we have to acquire some land and or easement from. And for those fees, HBK will be doing surveys, plats, easement documents, titles, et cetera, that'll be coordinated with Santa Cruz's negotiations. No questions on that. We'll move on then to Council Memo 528-23. Again, this also relates to the downtown levy work, and this is a professional service agreement to True North Consultants in the amount of $35,600. And this will be to do additional soil testing for soils that will be contaminated as part of this, need to be removed as part of this project to get their no further remediation action letter approved. Any questions on that matter? Then the next item is Council Memo 529-23. This is a professional service agreement for the Bluff Street Sanitary Interceptor Rehabilitation designed to RJN Group in the amount of $63,300. This interceptor along between Bluff Street and the west river wall is about 100 years in age. It's 30 inches in size, and we had completed a cleaning and televising of that sewer back in 2019, and it's got some considerable deterioration that needs to be repaired. So this contract amount is again to do the design work. We had already reassigned some of our community development block grants dollars at your last meeting to actually do the construction work on that project. So no questions on that. We'll move on to memo 530-23. This is a professional services contract for GPS/AVL services to Skyhawk Telematics. The amount of the contract is $84,184.40. This is for a 5-year service contract. We've been in a contract with Skyhawk since 2018, so this is a extension or renewal for another 5 years. These are the GPS units essentially in our public works vehicle that give real-time route completion for our snow fighting operations and other tracking that we can do with our own vehicles. Any questions?
So I just have one quick question on that. How does that reflect back to the residents so they understand how that system works in their favor?
Greg, I think you know best how we've done that in the past. Can you address that question of how we do any reporting back to the public with that GPS tracking technology?
Yes, so we have not had a public-facing interactive map, so to speak. It is doable. We've looked into it. It's not particularly costly. I don't think we would want to do it in real time for a variety of reasons, but you can put a delay on it of however much time you want, basically. But we have concerns on routing, so our routes are set up to remove snow in the most efficient manner, and if I'm living on a street and I see a snowplow on a street next to mine, I might think it's going to be there in 5 minutes, and I delay doing whatever, but they're actually on a route and they don't get back there for 45 minutes, then the complaints come in. Also, that safety concern on real-time stuff. Snow removal can be an emotional topic for people. One of the regular complaints we get is I just plowed or blew out my driveway or shoveled out my driveway and the snowplow came in and put a windrow in there. And we have had people chase down drivers and yelling at people, and for that reason we don't want to create a safety hazard where somebody knows where the driver who just did that is suddenly located. And just other topics like driver might stop to take a bathroom break or get a cup of coffee or something, and a resident sees that the snowplow is sitting wherever at a gas station and not moving. So it's doable. It's not actually that costly. We can do it. It's just a matter of what decision we make on when we want to release the information so that people can see we're making progress, but not necessarily get a exact location of the snowplow.
But your leadership knows where the trucks are, and that's most important.
That's correct. Yeah, we know where all the trucks are at all times.
Thanks.
Mayor?
Yep.
I mean, you bring up a good point, and our men and women do a phenomenal job, dispatch, all of them. But I think you hit it on the head. Let the residents know, like, even if it's an hour delay or half-hour delay, they can get on the computer and see, oh man, these guys are here, maybe in the next hour or so. It's the unknown, I think, is what the residents have a hard time with. Is it gonna be 8 hours? On a heavy snow, is it gonna be 3 hours? I think, Mayor, you hit it on the head. I'd like to give a little more information than, maybe come up with an hour delay or whatever it is. And
that's doable.
And if there's any complaints or somebody running a snowplow down, we can address that as it comes. I don't think it's every minute that we're out there plowing, but it does happen, I'm sure. But
yes.
I think, Mayor, you hit it on the head. I think the public want to know what's happening, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the will of the council, we can look at a package and bring something back and find some recommended time, see what other communities are doing. There are communities that post this information and see what sort of time factor they put on this stuff and come back with something like that.
Mayor? And what I might suggest, if you can look into it when you look for a package, Greg, I kind of hear what you're saying about people might get confused. They don't realize what you've inputted as your, the routes your supervisors have.
Sure.
So they'll see somebody going down a feeder and not realizing it's a feeder, figuring, well, that's one street over from me, but no, you're residential.
Right.
Is there a way or part of the program where we can input what the routes will be, so you could at least give a general estimate of when they'll come?
We could look at that. I would just caution on, every snow is different. So, you might see it close, but it's 8 inches of snow versus 1 inch of snow, that type of thing. But we could look at putting the routes on there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on that item? Moving on then to Council Memo 531-23. This is an amendment number 1 for construction testing and soil boring services with SECO Consultants in the amount of $51,688. SECO had been doing soil testing for us related to our water main replacement program. Based on the work they've done, some of the locations have environmental investigations that they're recommending additional soil sampling so that we know what forms we need to do for the soil disposal that comes from those places. So again, the total amount's $51,688. Public Service reviewed it and recommended it for your approval. Next item is 532-23, change order number 1 for the Charity Avenue, Helen Avenue. This is an MFT contract with PT Farrow and Company. The change order is a decrease in the amount of $25,052.72, and we're also requesting that you approve a final payment, number 3, in the amount of $20,832.32. The next item is Council Memo 533-23. This is approval of $42,050 to upfit police squads by Federal Signal Corporation. This would upfit 20 base units that we purchased from Morrow Brothers Ford. Most of this has to do with electrical components, and the total again is $42,050. Any questions on that item? That's everything that's on the consent agenda for your consideration tomorrow night. Then moving on to our regular agenda items, the first council memo is 535-23. This is requesting you to approve the award of a 3-year contract to CDW for our Microsoft Enterprise licensing, which obviously covers all of our Microsoft Office suite for all of our PCs and staff, our Windows operating systems, etc. It's again a 3-year contract, and the total contract amount is $1,165,668.39.
Hey, how long is that price held up at that number? Do they escalate that on us, Kevin? Who's?
That would be Chris's to answer.
Chris, I'm sorry.
That's a good question, Mayor. So they actually raised the price 25% from our last 3-year agreement with them. We were able to actually do some changes to how we license our employees. It gets kind of crazy how it works exactly, but there's a concept of a G3 license, which allows you to have the applications on your actual laptop or PC. And there's an F3 license. We found that we had about 300 employees that we could downgrade to what's called an F3 license because they don't typically access things like Word and Excel on their computers. They just use it through the web. We reduced our contract by about $5,000 over the 3-year contract, which was some nice savings. It was a pretty significant amount. But we are seeing that over the next 3 years, Microsoft will probably be doing another 25% increase. That's what they've done in the public sector, the private sector. So we're anticipating that being the case for us also.
All right, thank you.
Yes, in this contract, Mayor, it's a flat fee over each of the 3 years. There's no escalation within this, but would again expect that to happen next time we have to do an extension or renewal. Any other questions on that? The next item is Council Memo 536-23. This is, again, the contract regarding the audio-video upgrades to the City Council chambers. We're going to ask for this to be tabled to our November 7th meeting. The consultants are still working out the final details and final review of that since last time we met, and there's been changes made to address the needs of JCTV, et cetera. So we should have that before you on November 7th. Hopefully with everyone's happy with what's in it and sign off from our consultants. Any questions on that?
Thank you.
Next item is Council Memo 538-23. This is an application for a drive-through permit for a Starbucks restaurant at 1900 Essington Road. I know this item was before you, I think sometime before I had served in this role, and the applicant had made some changes to address, I think, public concerns from the neighbor to the east by increasing landscaping, and Public Works staff reviewed modifications that they also proposed to the drive access that would be on Thomas Hickey, which is now proposed to have restricted turning movements on it, so that any vehicle that's leaving the proposed Starbucks site cannot make a left onto Thomas Hickey from that location. The site does have a second shared access to the north with the adjoining property over a common ingress-egress easement. Questions?
Sure.
I'm sorry, somebody else want to say something? I'm just going to touch on this briefly. I think we've all received the communications from the residents, and it goes well beyond the preschool. That's just the one. You know, any business going there, if you physically visited it, and I think some of you have physically visited it, I know they made some minor changes. It's just a square peg and a round hole there when it comes not to having a business there, but by having high impact. Most people would assume that if you need a drive-through, you're doing good. That's a good business, but that's high impact. That's a lot of traffic. Left restrictions don't work. The McDonald's up the road in Essington, they still have the left only or the right only cutout, but they took the side down because everybody ignored it. So that's really not a realistic expectation. In fact, there can be accidents when you have somebody saying left only, somebody assumes it's left only, and the people in a hurry come out there. So essentially, that kind of high volume needing the special use for a permit for a drive-through would indicate that it's probably not the right place there. It's a very small commercial lot. Essington's the main road, but Thomas Hickey is not. In fact, Thomas Hickey is a dead end to the west. It just doesn't fit there, and not just because of Starbucks. Any business that would need to have that kind of high volume addressed by a drive-through, that permit just shouldn't be granted when you look at what's happening. I understand that technically, staff may say, well, we can make it work. You know, it fits within the parameter. I wear size 11 shoes. I'm sure I can get size 9 on with a shoehorn. Doesn't mean I should be walking around in size 9 shoes. So this is just not a good fit. And it goes beyond the preschool to the entire subdivisions, several subdivisions there because of the nightmare that it would cause in traffic patterns. So I would respectfully ask all of us to really think hard and consider this as we move forward tomorrow, not from my opinion, but the opinions of several hundred residents who live there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next item on our agenda is Council Memo 541-23. This is an ordinance for the levy and assessment of taxes for fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 for the Joliet Public Library District. The property tax levy is being requested in the amount of $6,329,670, which is a 3% increase from last year's levy. Any questions?
I have a question related, but not directly. And either Rod, you can answer it, or maybe Kevin Singh might answer it. I've been very busy this last week or so. And I saw something, and I think it can't be real, something about the county wanting to increase to the maximum per 100,000 to $500 and some dollars. Is this an accurate? Thank you, Kevin. Can you check what that really means so we can get that out there? Because it's not us levying it, but the people are, I didn't get a chance to research it. You know, just, it started going around, if you will, the local social media that it's going to be $546 per 100,000 of assessed value. You know, many houses out there are worth $300,000 or better. That would be over $1,500 one-time bang. So I think there's got to be some misinformation out there, and I just feel if we get out in front of it, we're not just helping the county, we're actually helping the citizens by explaining it. Can you check into that, Kevin, and see what they're actually trying to do over there? Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Next item is 542-23. This is, again, public hearing for the ordinance of levy and assessment of taxes for the city of Joliet for our fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2023. As you're well aware, property tax revenue accounts for a little less than about 1/4 of our general fund revenues. The proposed levy amount is $58,634,449.57. This is a $7,056,103 increase from the prior levy, but it does not increase the tax rate. Again, happy to answer any questions, or Kevin as well, if you have them. So we'll have that public hearing on our levy number for 2024.
I think to really explain that a little bit better, there's a lot of new real estate in town that's raised that money. Some of the values have gone up, and so it's not a tax levy increase, it's an increase in amount of revenue coming in based on factors that aren't gonna affect the homeowners in that sense.
It captures the growth and value that's been created by the amount of development that's happened throughout the city.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda will be a public hearing for the 2024 annual budget. This is just the required statutory hearing. We do not have before you yet an ordinance asking you to approve the budget. This is the opportunity for anybody in the public to make comment on the draft budget, which has been available to the public since October 5th. So we'll have that public hearing, and then as we've laid out and Kevin's laid out for you the schedule going forward, we'll actually bring the budget back for you for adoption at another meeting. Any questions or comments on that? Very good. Under ordinances and resolutions, the first council memo is 545-23. This is approving a variation of use to allow the continuation of a 3-unit residence in an R3 1 and 2 family district. This is located at 901 Summit Street. The property owner purchased this property in June of 1986 as a 3-unit. He was not aware that he did not have the proper zoning until he tried to sell the property earlier this summer. Neighborhood Services has inspected it as a 3-unit since 1987, and in 2021, Neighborhood Services issued a 6-year rental certificate as a 3-unit that goes through 2027. The zoning board reviewed this at their September 21st meeting. There was no one appearing or submitting comments in support or opposition to the petition, and then the zoning board sent it forward to you with a recommendation of approval with 5 yes votes and nobody voting no.
Question, Mayor? Sure. So, Rodney, did I hear you correct, or petitioner? We inspected it in 21 and gave them a 6-year okay, and now we're gonna vote on it?
We gave them a 6-year okay on their rental certificate.
And they don't check whether the...
I don't know what happened at that point that no one ever realized that the zoning was not in conformance with the 3-unit, but that's what you're asked to do now, is vote on the variation. So that
This is why we need more inspectors.
Has there been any complaints?
I'm Don Gold, I'm the attorney for the applicant, Mr. Adamick, Walter Adamick, and his wife Donna. This was, thank you. This was purchased in 1986. He had a certificate then, it's been renewed. There have been no issues during his entire ownership. We were just told that it was an oversight. It was just an oversight. And apparently they thought it was zoned, but it wasn't. So, but we're here to ask that you concur with your plan commission. He's never had any issues, but there's a series of variations that are needed, because when you have a building that's 100 years old, obviously you didn't have setbacks, you didn't have parking regulations, all the things that we have right now to come into conformity with your ordinance. But he's run a clean operation for 37 years as a 3-unit building. If you read the information that was provided by the staff, there's a half a dozen multifamily units. Everything around here contiguous to his property is multifamily. In fact, there's a 6-unit at 900 Summit directly across the street. We'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
so you get ready to sell the property, is that correct?
correct.
So I commend you for running a very good 3-unit for all these years. However, and you did get a letter of support from the Cunningham neighborhood, understood. However, my problem comes in where who you sell it to and who they're gonna put in. It's not going to be as, I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. However, I know that that area has a lot of multifamily. They have a lot of problems with other things going on in there. And I am a supporter of downzoning. And you don't know what the next owner is gonna be. It could be somebody that comes in there and puts a bunch of people in there and doesn't care what's going on. And, you know, you can't judge in advance, but I'm just saying, I've always voted against multifamily in these single-family houses, especially a variation of use for a 3-unit. So those are my concerns.
On the other hand, it could be someone who's very responsible.
But you don't know. But he's been there since 1986, so he's proven himself.
He's proven himself.
And he's selling his property. So you don't know who's gonna come along.
We have a contract with the gentleman. Now, he's not here this evening, but
Well, I'm just
Why
telling you
don't
my
we hear
concerns,
tomorrow?
okay? I don't know what the other council members are gonna do. These are how
I understand.
I feel.
Understood.
Larry?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman Cardenas as your district? I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, no, I got the letter of support as well from the Cunningham district, said they've never had any issues. And I know that right now, the surrounding area is all multi-unit as well. So in the times that we do live in right now, I do feel that we are gonna, which I understand Jan's point of view of the down, but I believe we're gonna have to start looking into multi-unit, just of more affordable housing. So if it's already been a 3-unit, it is a 3-unit, I am in favor of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you. The next council memo is 546-23. This is an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow a 2-unit in an R2 single-family zoning district. This is at 501 4th Avenue. A brief background on this. This was a 2-story concrete block and parcel wood building. It originally served as a grocery store. It's a corner parcel, and it served as that up until the 2000s. At that point, it was converted into a single-family residence in 2006. It was originally zoned R3, 1 and 2 family, but in 1971 was rezoned to the existing, it was originally zoned for 1 and 2 family in 1971. It was rezoned in 2003 to the current single-family district. The owner, again, would like to convert it to a 2-unit. There was no one in attendance speaking in favor or opposed to it at the zoning board meeting on September 21st, and the zoning board brought it forward to you with a recommendation of approval with a unanimous 5-0 vote.
Any questions? Whose district is that?
I think
I'm
it's-
sorry.
I'm the owner of 501 4th Avenue.
Do you have concerns, Sarah?
No, it was,
She needs to come to the microphone, Mayor, because of the recordings.
I was down here at 2 o'clock, September the 21st, and they didn't give me a chance to speak or ask questions. So they sent me a letter apologizing. So I came tonight. I talked to other neighbors. I don't know why they didn't show, but I'm here because I live across the street from it. Now, I'm not against apartments, people that can't speak English or none of that stuff. But that neighborhood is pretty quiet. And most of them that live there are seniors like myself. And so like before, whoever got it, after it was, the grocery store, then it went to the one upstairs. Downstairs, it was the grocery store. Upstairs is the apartment. I'm saying, I don't care who moved there, but I'm telling you, I'm not putting up with mess, because I will call the police every day. I'm just here to say, I'm not gonna live in a neighborhood with a lot of riffraff and people partying and all that stuff, because most of the neighbors, they're pretty quiet around there. Because I did have trouble with the ones across the street, but I kept calling the police. And Officer Clement, he came and saw about it. So I don't care about the apartment building. All I'm saying is about the parking and everything like that. I'm with it. So I didn't get a chance to speak because they said the man wasn't here and they couldn't, he couldn't speak English. And they didn't have an interpreter for the land use or whoever it was. But I was here and nobody heard me. So I left. I thought, what am I sitting here for? So like I'm saying, sir.
Yeah, we're trying to improve the building and the area, that's why.
Because it's been looking, because I complained to my councilman before and he told me that long as the taxes was being paid, he didn't care how it looked. And I said, I did, because they had gang writing on it first and
We
then.
painted the whole building.
Yeah, I know it was green.
Yeah,
and
that
then
was the previous owner.
Yeah, and
when I
then
took
it's
over.
black now, and that's why I kept
correct.
asking him, but it looks black to me.
Right.
So I said, what are they gonna do with it? How long is it
Well,
gonna stand there?
The city doesn't give me a permit, that's why the building's still standing there.
See
I can't
that?
get a permit to do anything on it.
See, nobody told me
That's
that.
why I'm here.
That's when when we came before, it was Alcaminos. And after that, they had problems. The school, Washington and Keith, had problems with the children. They had to stand in line and go in one at a time, whoever owned that grocery store. And like when my husband was living, he said, ain't no way in the heck. I had my children standing in line and going into the grocery store. So we came down, a whole lot of us, and they said, no, I don't know if it was Schultz, Peretti, or who was, but they said it could not be a grocery store again.
Right. No,
And I remember when my neighbor lived and she moved because her husband died, and she used to go over there and try to talk to the people. They couldn't speak English. So she was trying to find out what was they gonna do with it. So now, like I'm saying.
That was the previous owner that didn't speak English, I took over, and I haven't been able to get a
But
permit.
see, when I was down here to, like I say, but, the Ray, H-E-I-T-N-E-R, he wrote me a letter apologizing because I was sitting here and they just, like, I was not here. And so I talked to some of the neighbors today, some of them didn't, I said, but I'm going, because I'm concerned, I'm telling you.
Sure.
And I don't mind calling the police.
Of course
Like
not.
people said, that I'm not afraid of anything or anyone.
Of course.
So I'm letting you know. So I'm talking to you council, the mayor and the council members. When you vote on it, like I say, think about who lives in the neighborhood and who wants to be bothered with stuff. And I'm not. If it's night, I'm calling the police. And if they don't get it, I'm calling the chief. And if they don't get it, I'm calling you, Mayor.
All right,
I won't call you.
you got my number.
So I'm not against it, sir.
Thank you.
I mean, long as you, and who you put in there,
Right.
they have to remember, we're seniors living in there.
Yeah, I understand.
And I live by myself now, and I like peace and quiet. If I can't get it, I'm gonna make noise. So,
Of course.
thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Sure.
You're the new owner, sir?
I am Francisco, I'm the owner of the building
How long have you owned it?
for 3 years, since 1919, from 2019,
And your intention is to
to
work
rehab.
with the neighbors,
Yes.
considering the
Correct.
quality of life that
Yes.
exists there?
I also own the lot across the street, which is a parking lot for the grocery store. If the parking is an issue, I can always turn that into a parking lot.
And then I would certainly, Councilwoman Ibarra, certainly your position is important to your district.
Yeah, I would really have to go and look at it. I don't know what time we'll get out of here tonight, but I will drive by and look at it. What the neighbors have to say is really important to me, so I'll be
course.
reaching out to the neighborhood council to see how
I
they feel
understand.
about it as well. This neighborhood has really been through a lot, and
Yeah, really
they're,
can't do
like you
nothing.
said, they're not afraid to call the cops,
Yeah.
and they want responsible owners. This neighborhood has had enough of slumlords.
Sure.
So I will definitely be reaching out to the neighborhood council tonight and driving by to take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, I have drawings and everything. I mean, I'm ready to build it up.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe?
Yeah, Been there 3 years, you said, right?
Yep. I've been battling with it ever since. I mean,
That's fine,
I'm
huh?
still paying 2 meters of gas, 2 meters of electric. And it says it's a single family, but why the city's still charging me for 2 meters of, and everything is for 2 units? I'm paying for 2 garbage, 2 sewers.
Hey, can we look into that? But
Yeah.
my question is,
I've been doing that for 3 years.
Chief Evans, can we run calls for service? I mean, I'm not gonna do it for 901 Summit because they're selling it, right? So that would be a moot point, but for this, he's owned it for 3 years. Can you run, calls for service there for, this, 901 Fourth Avenue? Oh, I'm sorry, 501, I'm sorry. Thanks for correcting me, 501. And then, just so we can get a handle on it, just see what's going on there, and, I appreciate your efforts, and if we could.
Thank you.
Look into the 2 meters, and it appears we're overcharging or something going on there, so.
I brought this several times to the city, and they said that it was zoned that way. But why am I still getting 2 bills for everything?
Mayor. Neighborhood services, okay. So my understanding is it's single family, you want it to become a 2-unit, but it's
Yes.
already been, you're already charging for 2 units, is that correct?
Because it previously was a 2-unit. It was a grocery store on the first floor and then an apartment in the second. Now I want to turn it into 2
But it was a
units.
business, and then the family part, the family unit is different, so, can someone from neighborhood services address that?
I could speak on that, you know, so this has a long history, like has been said, it was a grocery store. At one time, it was not great for the neighborhood, so it was recommended that it be rezoned to residential. And then the grocery store, as a result, went away. That space in the lower level, the grocery store space, has been vacant since then. The upstairs was always a rental unit. The second story was always a rental unit. I believe that's vacant right now also, so there could be some calls for service, but it would be for a vacant building, I believe. Petitioner, correct me if I'm wrong, is the second floor is vacant, correct?
It is, it's all vacant. the
Yeah,
whole-
so he's waiting to get this approval. If he gets this approval, then he'll go full bore with his building permits and renovation of the building. But he's holding off right now to do that as a result of this zoning issue. So again, there's nobody in there right now. Staff is recommending approval because of, it would just be a vacant space in the bottom. It doesn't fit a single-family house style. Without going full residential, then it's just floating around either vacant or people are coming back constantly asking for commercial uses, which is more detrimental and could be more negative to the neighborhood.
So in other words, you just want to put 2 units there, no grocery store,
No
period.
grocery store, just
So
2
you're gonna
units.
renovate it into 2 units, which you've been paying all along for.
Yes.
We need to start checking this stuff.
I
Again,
ask-
why we need more inspectors.
I agree completely, Jan. Can I ask, where are these people gonna park? Cause that's a corner lot and that's very close to the street.
I have the lot across the street.
Oh, that's-
I own it. and
Across the street, so they're gonna
Yes.
park across the street?
That's literally right in front. It used to be the parking lot for the grocery store.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor. Chief Evans, you'd scratch that request? No one's living there, it's a moot point.
What I would say too, what we need to do, and maybe neighborhood services can address this, it's not necessarily specifically a inspector issue, it's a record-keeping issue. This is not the only time we run up against this. In the older neighborhood.
Correct.
do
But you
we
need more
have-
people in that department.
Right,
so.
we're doing a great job with GIS, right, citywide. Are we collecting the information on those and then double checking to see, okay, this is still a 2-unit, 2-flat or 3-unit, coming back, and I know it might be on paper right now because it's a little outdated, and then digitizing it and saying, okay, it's not had approved. We should build a list of those that exist that for many years have been one way and not the other, and like the one just before, run and sell it. You know, he's running as a 3-unit for what, 40, 30 years, 5 years? But we need, I think, get out in front on our record keeping. You know, so if you could look into that and come back to us with some kind of proposal on how you would get your arms around this. And I would ask you or encourage you, I'm sure by tomorrow, Councilwoman Ibarra is gonna have some questions after she visits the neighborhood and talks to residents. You really need to contact her, it's her district.
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question on that, and Jim, wouldn't it, if, when an inspector goes out to inspect a property, wouldn't it be just a matter of putting the line item, this is zoned residential, whatever?
Yeah, they're aware. They probably haven't gone out and inspected. I'm not in neighborhood services, so I'm in planning, but they probably have not inspected because this has been vacant now for a while, so.
But I don't mean this one in particular. I mean any, you know,
Yeah.
because we're seeing other ones that are happening. Couldn't that just be a line item on the, whatever
Yeah,
the inspection?
I would say 9 out of 10, they report to us when zoning is not accurate. I do
Okay.
not
So
know
that
why
doesn't
some of
happen.
the other ones slip through the cracks. Perhaps they think they're grandfathered in or something unusual like that, but 9 out of 10 are reported to us. We've been going through this process with them from the late 80s to now, so we do get them from time to time, but not as much as we were doing in the 90s. But whatever reason why some of them slipped through the cracks, some of them could have been owner-occupied 2 units and were not on rental inspections. So a lot of those are coming through, but yeah.
But to your question, Councilwoman, what we can fix is to make sure that if it's just a piece of data on a form, that we're doing it on every form. So we can certainly work with staff to make sure they're collecting that, so.
Okay, thank
I
you.
have another question for him, if he doesn't mind coming back to the mic. Thank you. Do you own any other apartment buildings?
I do not,
Do you own any other houses
I
that
do.
you rent out?
yes.
Can we find out then from the single-family rental inspection if there's any complaints on any of the other single-family homes that he rents out? Because I'd like to know that. Okay, thank
yes.
you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you. Next item,
Excuse me, and one more question. How soon can we get that information
which information?
about other houses that he rents?
Oh, we can run that, I'll have it run tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll have it for tomorrow's council meeting.
I should be able to do that.
Thank you.
All right, next item on your agenda is 547-23. This is ordinance approving a special use permit to allow sales of new and used trucks and associated equipment at 3350 Shanahan Road. This is in Lot 5 of the Ketone Business Center, which is zoned I-2. This is essentially the industrial subdivision between Route 6 and the river on both sides of the Hobo Road extension, where the Target Distribution Center is. This lot's behind that. They're proposing, it's a 27-acre site. Again, they will be doing truck sales out of a portion of this property. It's really a mixed-use building and parcel. There's other things allowed there in terms of trucking facility, truck parking, and/or maintenance has also previously been approved for that location. Again, this went through the Zoning Board of Appeals at the September 21st meeting. There was no objectors or anyone that spoke in opposition to the petition, and it was sent forward to you with a recommendation of approval with 5 yes votes and no no's.
That's correct. Applicant is here. The facility's set up for a cartridge facility, and they got a tenant that wants to do some sales. I think it'll be a little less truck traffic and hopefully some sales tax revenue for the city, so.
Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Next item is Council Memo 548-23. These are ordinances and a resolution related to the Rock Run Collection Subdivision. Conan Properties called me this afternoon, late in the day, and asked for you to table this item tomorrow. They're going through some key leadership changes in the organization, and they would like an opportunity for the new people in those positions to be familiar with this project before it essentially gets inked. So if that's acceptable, then we're going to ask that you table it till November 7th. Is there
Any questions?
Questions on that?
Makes sense.
No problem.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 549-23. This is the budget amendment that goes along with the changes for the city council AV project, which we already talked about, asking that to be tabled to November 7th as well. Council Memo 551-23, this is a resolution declaring certain City of Joliet property as surplus. This particularly pertains to 18 vehicles that we'll ask you to approve a resolution declaring them surplus, and they will either be auctioned off or those that can't be will take to salvage. Next item is a resolution 552-23. This is a resolution approving an easement agreement with Commonwealth Edison Company for the Caton Farm Water Main Improvement Project, where we have to cross the ComEd right-of-way just east of Droughton Road, and the cost for the associated with the easement agreement is $3,000.
Mayor?
Sure.
Just so everybody knows, myself, Councilman Guerrero, and Councilman Mudron, we reviewed that today. Normally, except when cases are of importance, it comes 2 weeks later, but it's coming tomorrow. And it was unanimously, after vetting, unanimously recommended for approval from all three of us, correct?
All right.
So just so everybody knows.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for that, Councilman.
You're welcome.
That concludes all the action items, and then, of course, we'll conclude with city manager comments, public comments, and then, of course, your mayor and council comments.
So Rod, did you have any comments this evening?
Not this evening.
Okay, thank you. Next is public comments. Is there anyone that would like to address the council?
Hi, Mayor, Council. My name is Bob Cobb. I know y'all are thinking, here we go again. But I'm not here to talk about what I've been talking about. I just want to make there's steps coming up in the days ahead. I just want to make a couple comments. I made one to the mayor earlier that I Googled something, and when I was doing it, I come across a statistic that says out of 263 cities with a population of 100,000 or more, Joliet ranks 8th safest city. So I commend all of you and all of the law that makes Joliet safe. My next comment is when we talked about the snow removal, where I'm at, there's, and I understand that the snow has to be removed timely. But where I'm at, the snow plows, there's 3 in tandem that do the, well, they go at a phenomenon speed. It's so fast that from one corner to the next, it jumps the curb, and almost every year, it jumps the curb and rips out a good portion of the grass. And the city always replaces it. I'm not concerned about that. I know it has to be done. The job has to be done. But there was one incident that just pissed me off because I was in complete daylight. It's just total daylight, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm snow plowing my sidewalk. I go this way, and then I go back this way, and I'm snow plowing my sidewalk. And I hear the snow plows barreling down the road. And it's obvious that I'm doing this. Well, the one that jumped the curb was going so fast, and it sprayed the snow and the sod, covered me. And you know, like I said, I know that they have to get the job done, but when it's obvious that you see me there, slow down a little bit, just until you pass me up. So maybe if the streets and sanitation could tell their drivers, hey, if you see somebody, slow down. Don't bury him with sod and snow and slush and ice. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask Bob, can I ask a question? Did you get any resolution on the chicken coop? Yeah.
I did not. Not totally. I talked to Councilman Ibarra, and I said that I was under the impression that she got rid of the chickens, but my argument is.
The coops.
The coops. They're still standing.
Let me ask staff a question. Can we do me a favor? What is our ordinance? Let's get, we went over this a few times here. What is the definitive ordinance on those structures? Can we look into that and have that by tomorrow or
Sure.
the next meeting, either one?
Yeah, we can look into it.
I'm curious like you, what's the exact?
Okay, well, a couple of issues now. This past weekend with the structures, I told you in the previous session when I came up and talked, I told you about the tarp that's covering these structures. Well, they're stapled down, and when the wind is really strong, it knocks the staples out, and the tarp just flies. And sometimes it flies for days before she gets out there and staples it down again. Well, this past weekend, she was out there stapling the tarp down, and she, that's not me.
No, that's me.
And she put the flag back up. The wind took it down, but she took that finger flag up. Now, how many people would like to open up their kitchen window in the morning and see this flag of the middle finger shining right in your face? I don't think anybody would like that. But when she started stapling the tarp down again, I took my phone, my camera on the phone, and I started taking a video of her putting the flag up and stapling the tarp back down. Well, she was doing that, and then she was like that. And what kind of neighbor does that? So I'm just letting you know what I have to deal with. So, but there's
You have a homeowners association, right?
We don't.
You don't, okay.
No, there was in the beginning, but when they sold all the lots,
Then they
got rid of it.
Okay, that would have helped.
Yeah.
There is the First Amendment issue that we have to.
Yeah, I understand.
It's a little detail, but it's an important detail.
And the freedom of speech type issue with the flag and the little children standing on the corner, catch the bus. Come on.
I don't like that either.
So, okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Mayor, I have a question for staff. To build a structure like that, wouldn't she have needed a permit, Eva?
I would imagine so. I do want to update Councilor Hug and Mr. Cobb that Neighborhood Services looked at the condition of the chicken coop last week. I'm expecting a report tomorrow morning, so I can have that for council.
So can we see if she pulled a permit?
Yeah, I can look into that as well.
Because obviously I'm thinking it's probably illegal anyway, so. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor, I just want to jump on this real quick. If we have ordinances and residents are not following them, I mean, we should have recourse, right? You can go right into the Will County Courthouse, I would imagine, and the city can file a suit, right? I mean.
We do, if I might jump in, Councilman.
That's all. I think we have to take it a step further. Cobb's been up here 6-7 times now. I don't know.
It's harassment too, actually. It's harassment.
But
to question, I'm sorry, sir, if you're.
There's other neighbors that are in the same position I am, now I can tell you that I don't know for a fact, but I heard and I can that she still has chickens, but they're not in the coop. They're in the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. So
takes it out of the house, puts it in the coop, in the structure, feeds it, takes it, and puts it back in the house. Now that's not firsthand knowledge from me, but I know somebody that can tell you that.
Bob, I can tell you the only time that I have poultry in my house is on Thanksgiving, so we're okay.
On a spit.
If anyone from staff or neighborhood services can let me know, I have an appointment with him on Friday to go over there and look at all of this, because it's gone this far with no resolution for this man. So.
And it's not only me, but I had stopped setting my mouse traps out when I was told that she's got rid of the chickens. Now, a week or 2 weeks ago, when I was told that she still has chickens, I started setting my mouse traps up again. I'm catching mice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we'll continue as was stated. We had an inspector out there last week to inspect the condition of the coop, so we'll hopefully have that report tomorrow. I think that's been the missing part now is the actual accessory structure in disrepair to a point that we can take some kind of enforcement action on it. So we'll know more.
And if you can, also the ordinance that addresses it regardless of the condition it's in, is there setbacks and things like that?
Yeah, I'm confident. We've already gone through all those ordinances, and if you haven't seen a copy of it, I'll make sure it gets resent to you. But there's a number of excerpts that was pulled together on this whole case, so.
We did resolve the assessment from the fence. She had them originally by the fence. Well, they told her to move them out. Well, she wasn't gonna do that originally until the city of Joliet told her. Well, she moved them back. But now, in my opinion, because she still has chickens and she still has a chicken coop up, in my opinion, the only resolution would be for her to take the damn structure down. Get rid of the chickens and take the structure down. That's the only outcome possible, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would?
Hi. Do I have to say my name?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Gianna Barone. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but I decided I better. I would like to address the elephant in the room. This is concerning the rescinded township grant for asylum seekers. So what now? Now that you have lost the confidence of your constituents and embarrassed the city of Joliet, who will be held responsible for this? Why isn't Rod Tonelli going to answer for his role, and why didn't he inform the mayor and council and the public when he had the chance on multiple occasions to speak up? Why are these illegals being dropped off in our city by busloads still? Do we have a policy in place? Is there a policy for them coming into our city and being processed? Anybody answer?
We don't have a policy.
We should have one.
We're trying, well, Chief, what are we doing when we talked about having buses stop in Joliet? Yeah, we haven't.
Well, we've got to be strong and be firm about this, otherwise it's going to happen. You know, it's still going to happen. Is Christy McNichol going to be brought before the mayor and city council for her role in this grant application? How about the falsified statements on the application? This is a terrible stain on Joliet that is not going away. Even after we rescinded the grant, we are still processing asylum seekers, and it leaves a bad taste in our mouths. Is it going to be shoved under the rug and forgotten? We won't forget it. If you don't investigate and address what really happened, the community will never trust you again. The people of Joliet want answers. Also, about the Will County, they're supposed to vote Thursday on that maximum tax levy. At least that's the word that's out. Can someone find out anything about this? A 5% increase is gonna make a lot of people move. I can't afford that much of a tax increase on my home. So I know we're planning on going to the meeting, but if you guys can find out for us. And that's what I have to say, okay? Thank you.
Mayor, may I address, please? So just to make some clarifications, again, everyone knows this here, but the city did not file this grant application, the township did. The township was invited to attend a info session for the grant opportunity. It was a statewide info session that any local government unit could attend to learn about the funding for that grant. I was the one who shared the link to that info session with the supervisor at the township. Because we had had a conversation amongst many things, but in that conversation came up the discussion of migrants that were already here in the community and work that the township was already doing with the Spanish Community Center. And that was the reason for sharing that grant. Our staff had a meeting with the township, the Spanish Community Center, the Will Grundy Medical Clinic on September 1st. Multiple staff from our community development department were in there and from our fire department. I was not in that meeting. That meeting, I've talked to everyone that was in it. They had a general discussion about the issues of asylum seekers in the community, discussed concerns about winter housing issues, which routinely happens with those groups. We work with the township on a regular basis. They're one of our collaborating partners in finding housing for people that our city staff encounters that are struggling and need help. There was no conversation or involvement with anybody on the city staff to structure that grant, to outline the scope of that grant, to propose a budget for that grant or anything after the September 1st meeting. The city staff was not involved with that. The township did that. We did not know about it until the week of the governor's announcement, and we never saw a copy of it anywhere until Monday, October 2nd, when I called supervisor in to tell us what they did and bring a copy of what they filed, which I actually still didn't get that day. I got only a partial. So that's the story. I just want to make sure that you're all aware and the public's aware that we've gone through everything. As you might imagine, there's been many, many Freedom of Information Act requests for documents, emails, texts, all kinds of things. There's only a few things that even exist, and none of it has shown any evidence that there was any staff involvement in what the township chose to file for that grant application. We never had any conversation with anybody that sounded anything like that or involvement in what they put together. So just want to be clear on the record with that.
Question, Mayor. So why didn't you say this in the beginning? Why did you drag this on for 2 weeks and keep coming out with statement after statement and making us look like we knew all along when we didn't? And statements were made that Joliet officials, we are the officials, we are elected, we're not staff, didn't know about it, total blindside. And you sat here for 2 weeks and said nothing. Why? Why didn't you just come out right away and say, this is what happened? Why did you try to cover it up?
I didn't try to cover anything up.
Okay, no comment.
I'll answer your question. What I did need to do is make sure I understood everything and that there wasn't anything further or any other involvement that I wasn't aware of. And so I did those interviews after Monday, October 2nd, and I believe it was on Wednesday that week that I issued the statement.
Question there. Ron, there's quite a few questions out there, and I'm still getting my head around it. August 13th is when the city was, is it the 13th if I remember correctly, was notified of the availability grant?
I believe it was the 9th.
August 9th, okay. And so that would have come in some way, shape, or form to your office? Probably through what, planning? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember where it came into City Hall. It would have come by email to somebody, yes.
And after that, you notified the supervisor and shared an invite to this public meeting, if you will, for municipalities. But you didn't tell us that we were notified of the availability of the grant, which would have probably been a wise thing to do, because ultimately it's a policy decision whether to consider it or not.
Yes, absolutely. If we were going to be applying for a grant and there was any city appropriation requirement, that has always come to you.
But my point is, we will decide whether we apply for the grants or don't, but we weren't even told about it.
Yes, we did not apply for the grant. That was never something.
We never had a discussion up here saying that we would or wouldn't, because it was never brought to us.
We get a lot of grant and funding opportunities that come in. They come in frequently. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of community partner organizations that we work with. When those grants are more appropriate for one of those community partners than us, we share those opportunities. That's all that was done here, was sharing an invite to look at an opportunity and learn about it. That was it. We don't share all those opportunities with council, just the day-to-day operations of the city would not permit that, only if it's something we pursue, and then you would have to see, obviously, the grant agreement before you for your approval. But
Okay,
again,
thank
we
you.
did not pursue this.
Friday, September 1st, 2023, 12:36 PM, from Christy McNichol to Rod Tonelli Rod. Carbon copied, Eva Marie Trumper. Just a thought. ICM, we had our first meeting with the SCC, which would be Spanish Community Center, and JT, which would be Joliet Township. JT is going to be the lead and fiscal agent. SCC and WGMC, which is the Will Grundy Medical Clinic, will be the service providers. Below is what I sent post-meeting. There's nothing in this particular FOIA that was forwarded to me from, as we know, we got many FOIAs. I'll keep you posted. Signed, Kristen McNichol.
Yes, your question?
Explain that one.
As I said, our staff, numerous members from our community development department and our fire department met with those three organizations on September 1st. That was her message to me saying, hey, we met with them. JT is going to look at being the fiscal lead, and the other two organizations are going to partner. What I understand was to happen after that is those three organizations were going to start, have a meeting the following Tuesday to discuss what they would be interested in doing. No one ever came back to us after that. There was never another conversation. There was never any information shared with the city.
Rod, what's interesting about emails, or any communication for that matter, oftentimes it's not what's said or written, it's what's not said or written. There was no explanation as to what they were referring to, which would imply you knew exactly what they were referring to. There was no, if I received that email, I'd be like, you met about what? You knew they were gonna meet, you knew it was about the grant.
I was invited to the meeting. I didn't attend it, but I knew what they were meeting about. They were meeting about the issues already in our community and discussing how to address that or deal with the impacts of it. As I stated before, this is a really common thing that happens here. That meeting happened last year. Again, going into winter to understand what housing crises we might have with homeless population. So again, you know, we had an issue the week before in the community, in the city's limits, with 8 refugees from Colombia being given asylum in somebody's home, that we had to cite, give the person a violation of our ordinances because we can't have 9 unrelated people living in the same house. So, you know, an example of finding those issues happening in the community. And that meeting on September 1st, the staff discussed that, and they discussed it with community partners who are familiar with it and involved with it. Again, there was no conversation in that meeting that sounded like, looked like, smelled like, anything like that grant application, and none of our staff would tell you otherwise.
So it's completely coincidence that 2 weeks prior to the now infamous grant was filed by the township, naming everybody that was in that meeting as co-sponsors, whatever the technical word is, but yet at that meeting it wasn't discussed.
The issues around that were discussed, the funding opportunity.
But not the grant itself.
Not what they filed, just the issue of, again, we know there's migrants in the community, there's a funding opportunity. That was it.
So as I said, so then it would have to be chalked up to coincidence that every group they named in the grant ultimately, who later said we didn't give them permission, except for the mayor's office, was not there. You weren't there, Mayor, that's obvious in the email here. Everybody else that's in part of that grant was there at the meeting, just coincidentally, 2 weeks prior to
I don't believe the South Suburban Immigrant Project, who I think was named in it, was there. Again, of course, the mayor's office was not there, so.
No, that the mayor, that would be evident in this email. And I think we do have to, we certainly need to speak with Ms. McNichol at some point. I'm not sure, legal counsel, is that something that should be done publicly, or is that a matter of personnel, in executive session? Or do you need to kind of look into it?
I will look at it. It's personnel. I suppose what you are getting at is if there's any personnel discipline, that is not a council issue. It's
Right.
not a legislative issue.
But the fact finding is our issue on what was done in this case that brought the city into it. So we have to stay blind. That's your legal analysis. We have to be blind to what happened.
It's not a legislative function. It's a city manager form of government. as we've talked about in other discussions.
1955, yeah, we've heard that many times.
Yes.
I'm sorry listening to it, because right now we have an issue, and we're trying to do the investigating because the investigate is our city manager. We can't depend on him to tell us the truth, because all along, he has not been telling the truth because he comes out with cover-up after cover-up after cover-up, makes this council and our mayor look terrible. We did not know about this grant, and I want an end to it right now, and I want the truth to be told. I don't want any more stories about it. I want the truth. I don't have all my information here right now because I didn't know this was going to be discussed tonight, but I have plenty of information that I could read aloud publicly. But I didn't want to do it, but since it happened tonight and I didn't hear any truths, I'm done.
I have spoken nothing but the truth, and I'm offended that you would say it otherwise.
And you're offending me by being here.
Can I say something? What it feels like on this side, as the residents of Joliet, we didn't know anything about it. This was not transparent, and that's why we're mad. And I'm telling you, everybody I know is upset about this. As you could see at the meeting, the majority of the residents of Joliet feel like this was hidden from them. That's not right. We should have voted on it. We should have known about it. So that's my saying. That's why I'm here tonight. I didn't want to come, but I'm still mad about this. You know, it's bittersweet that it got rescinded because they're still coming in. Nothing else, it's still happening. Something's got to be addressed.
I appreciate your comments, and trust, I'm mad about it too. The city was
But
misrepresented.
you guys are the city, you're the mayor, you're the council, you're the manager. We got to do something about this. We got to make a statement that we're not a sanctuary city. I mean, I don't know the laws, but you know what? There's other cities that aren't taking them. Why is the Spanish Center processing them? Why did they say there's 2,200 already here? Where are they? You know, there's going to be another 2,200 coming in. I'm sorry, I'm upset. And I'm not the only one. I'm the only one that had the balls to come down here and tell you guys, so. That's where I stand. Thank you very much. I'm leaving now.
Mayor.
Sorry to ruin your night, but
I want to
this
say a
ain't
few
going
words
away.
if I could. And I was going to say a few words about the grant that was heard around the county. There's always something to learn from experiences. In this case, the lesson from this grant application is that there was a lack of communication to all levels from the grant request. While I've always supported the Will Grundy Medical Clinic for many years, I don't feel they were clear on the total ask for the grant application. And the same goes for the Spanish Community Center. Both organizations are wonderful organizations and wonderful partners in our community. I've personally supported them for many years, and I'll continue to support the good work they do. There have been many Freedom of Information Act requests, FOIAs, and narratives formed off these communications. These FOIA requests have enlightened us at the elected level of leadership of the need to create a process for clear communication related to any grant request by any city staff. Cause and effect of any grant request, as well as any partners involved with the request, will be evaluated prior to the grant submission. We have a grant coordinator who should be able to report on grant applications, explain the full impact of all requests to city management and to elected officials. We thank the community for coming together and expressing their concerns about this SMASS grant. We thank Joliet Township for hearing the concerns and withdrawing the grant application. We're equally as upset as anybody. I'm one of the 150,000 residents of the city. I've been in this business in this city 32 years. None of us took this lightly. I've spent the last 10 days explaining something that none of us had anything to do with. And I applaud you coming in here and bringing that. I was going to bring the elephant out, but you did, and I thought, well, I'll wait and let it get talked about. But there is no doubt a need for process and procedure in many ways in this city. You know, the business I run, we go in 3 Ps. Process, procedure, then people. It seems like we're kind of running, the Ps are running wrong. So we're gonna definitely look into this. You have my word on that.
Thank you.
This will not end.
We'll hold you to it
Do
because
it.
it's our city.
I ask you to hold me to it.
We've been living here for a long time.
Yeah.
We need to have a say in things like this. Thank you very much, everyone.
No,
I'm
thank
gonna
you.
leave now.
Thanks.
Thank
Mayor?
Safe travels.
Sure.
Thank you for your comments. I'm glad you brought it up and you had your comments there. You know, I had the great honor of working for 3 mayors, and just my experience is when something comes up, whether it's a grant or any other issue, that has to be communicated through the chain, right? The city manager finds out about it. He has to let the mayor know what's happening, so you can let the public know, or the other 8 of us up here. It's very important we do that. I think the first step, and I'm not finger pointing all that, we've had all these emails, phone calls, text messages. We've been lit up. We saw what happened last week across the river with the meeting. I think the first step the city has to take is let everybody know that we are not a sanctuary city. We need to pass an ordinance, letting everybody know where we stand. That's the first step. The asylum seekers that are coming here in Joliet, I mean, I don't know how you stop it. I really don't. But the first thing we need to do is take the step saying, we're gonna take care of our Joliet residents first. That's the step I think we need to move forward with first, and then we can start ironing out a lot of these other issues. So that's where I stand.
I agree.
Mayor, just so everybody knows, and Councilman Clement, you may be right, maybe we need formal action today. This was discussed at Mount Carmel Church back in 2016, and obviously that was not an action meeting. And the council as a whole, every member, all 9 members, rejected the idea at that time and saying we will not be a sanctuary city. That was done in 2016 as a matter of public record. It was not a formal ordinance. I think that's what you're asking for, Councilman?
That's what I'm asking for.
Legislative committee's got to work on that. That's their domain. One other question to the city manager: where are we at with a permanent full-time city attorney search?
We just completed the first round of interviews, so evaluating those that we're going to bring back and what the second round or final part of that process will look like.
Thank you for the update, even though apparently I don't have the right to ask it.
One more question, Mayor. Why were you not at that meeting on last Tuesday night?
At the township meeting?
At the township meeting, yes. Every other city manager who ever had any important meetings would includes the public. City manager's always there. Why were you not there? That's your job.
I think actually if anybody from the city staff or administration was there, that would have been inappropriate.
Oh, God, help me.
I think I went there to represent the whole city, and I think I said what we all believe, and I'm with you, Joe. Larry, if we need to pass a formal ordinance that we are not a sanctuary city, then we do that. You know, the Spanish Community Center has been a welcome center since 2015, when Pat McGuire brought that to play. And they have helped a lot of people that have come to our community, but this is a new thing that's coming on right here. This is completely different than what we've had in the past in this community. We can't afford to we've got enough people to help right here, right now, without asking any more to come in here. This is a federal issue that we have no play in.
I think I would definitely like to look more into that. I know that back when the topic came up about, identifying that we're not a sanctuary city, I don't think there's a need for us to be, official on paper, say we're not, because I know there's certain things that come with that. My family came here and we used the Spanish Community Center for their services many, many years ago. And I know there's a lot of fear surrounding the migrant problem currently, but I think we just gotta be very careful how we address this. And when we wanna say we're officially not a sanctuary city, just the way we didn't say it was, right for us to say at that moment that we were very against it. And I think a lot of people would agree that we shouldn't announce that we were in a sanctuary city. I don't think we need to officially say it. So I just think we just gotta be very careful on this topic of how we address it and how we put it out there, because there's a lot of people here, some of us sitting up here, that came through that process. And I just think it's very, just gotta be very careful how we address that, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I agree with Caesar, and I just want to say this really quickly, that there's a 6-year-old child in Plainfield that was murdered because they were not American. They were Palestinian, Muslim, American. So our rhetoric and what comes out of our mouth could make the difference between life and death for some you know, some really extreme views. I just think we, as leaders, we need to be really careful about what we say. That's all, and my prayers to the family.
Thank you.
Just a clarification, and that happened not far from the city, not far from the district in unincorporated Plainfield. The mother was a legal immigrant who came here. The son was born here, so he was a citizen. He was born and raised here. An 8-year-old son was born here. He wasn't here as an immigrant, legal or illegal. He was born and raised, so he is an American, was an American, and God rest his soul.
Anything else?
We did have a request for closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session to
So
discuss?
moved.
Second. We do need to
Discuss personnel,
read the
collective
list of.
bargaining, land acquisition, or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned. It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Navarro?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried.